Here's a riddle for you. What do a closet door, a flip chart, and Aetna Insurance Company all have in common? The answer to this question is one of the biggest breakthroughs I ever made in understanding the true nature of selling, and you can't effectively sell without it. Let's have ourselves a pocket sized pep talk, and I'll give you the answer to that riddle.
A Pocket Sized Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jollis.
Can you sell and problem solve? That poses a great question. And I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Aetna Insurance Company for teaching me the answer, quite by accident. Aetna had signed up for Xerox sales training, and I flew off to pilot the training in their Hartford, Connecticut facility. I'd studied the company, their customers, and the features they had to offer. With my own insurance background, I felt I was well prepared to knock them dead with sales training, and I was ready to deliver. What I didn't know was that Aetna had already been through some earlier training with Xerox. About 6 months prior to my training, the division I was scheduled to work with had gone through a 4-day quality program. This training taught them, among other things, how to process their problem solving through a model called Problem Solving Process, or PSP. As I maneuvered my way through the teaching of the sales model, I was feeling rather good about the class's progress. That got quite a show. I was pumped up that day. I found myself zipping around the room. I even did some boxing improvisation to illustrate a couple of key selling points. Then, from nowhere, I got a question that I wasn't prepared for. The question was this: isn't this sales process a lot like the problem-solving process and the quality training we learned 6 months ago? A student asked. Well, it isn't often that I'm caught for a loss of words, but I found myself struggling with this one. In all my years as a trainer for Xerox, I'd never bothered to compare the two processes, the quality training process and the sales training process. What made this particularly embarrassing was the fact that I was also a certified quality trainer for Xerox. That meant I frequently taught the other program the student was referring to. So I did what many trainers do when they're caught by surprise. I stalled. I quickly mentioned the fact that these were two very different models. I explained that I taught both programs and that the problem-solving process, which was taught in quality training, was very different from the selling process was in the midst of teaching them that day. I probably would have gotten away with this misguided response if it wasn't for what was inside the closet door. Once I finished my tap dancing response, the same student who asked the question asked me to open the closet door. I was happy to oblige, and on the back of that door was a large replica of the Xerox problem-solving process. It was right next to the flip chart I was using to illustrate the sales process. With the two models side by side, literally inches apart, I stood back and I saw exactly what the student was asking about. In quality training, the problem-solving process illustrates a disciplined approach to fixing things right the first time. And this is done by learning how to ask questions, go deeper into the potential size and scope of a problem, and force yourself to go beyond that prison of familiarity we're often kind of wound up in. In sales training, the selling process illustrates a disciplined approach to, well, fix things right the first time. This is done by learning how to, of course, ask questions, go deeper into the potential size and scope of a customer's problem, and yes, force yourself to get your client to go beyond his or her prison of familiarity. But wait, there's more. In quality training, the problem-solving process keeps us from jumping to a solution and trying to solve a problem before we fully understand the problem. The fact is, it's quite common for people to be enamored with a solution that he or she has been nesting with, and they can think of nothing else. In sales training, the selling process keeps us from jumping to a solution and trying to, well, not solve a problem before we fully understand the problem. It's quite common for customers to want to jump to a solution, and just as common for salespeople to order take that solution and sell them whatever that customer wants. FYI, if the solution that that customer came up with or wants doesn't work out properly, or the customer realizes he or she missed an opportunity for a better solution, who do you think they will blame? That's right, the person who sold it to him. As I stood gazing at the two models that day, I simultaneously learned and taught a valuable lesson. It should be no fluke that the problem solving process and the selling process mirror each other. Of course they do. How in the world can you be of value to a customer or a team if you see no value in identifying the underlying issues of a challenge before attempting to fix it? Albert Einstein summed it up perfectly when he said, "You can't solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it." If you're in sales, like it or not, you're a problem solver. It's your job to ask questions. You're paid to ask questions. Your clients are not equipped to ask themselves, and help these clients fix things right the first time. It's also your job to study problems from every angle and help others over the biggest stumbling block there is to sound decision making: fear of change. Learning to question early assumptions, thinking out of the box, and truly problem solving will ultimately help you do just that. So, can you sell and problem solve at the same time? How can you not?
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.